My name is Summer Becker, and I'm here with Giovanni Lopez, and today we're going to present part 2 of our series, 5 HR processes any company can automate. In the first part of this webinar, we showed off the employee onboarding, employee offboarding, and leave of absence process. So if you missed that, please feel free to go to our recorded webinars page to watch the first part. Those 3 processes were some really cool examples. And then in this webinar, we are going to present the contractor management process and the timesheet approval process, which Giovanni will be demoing in just a minute here. So what we're going to do first is I'm going to give you a brief introduction into why you should be automating your HR processes. Then Giovanni will get around to the demos of the timesheet approval process and the contractor management process. And then we'll open up the floor to any questions you may have. So let's go ahead and get started. So why should you automate your HR processes? As we all know, HR departments have a lot to manage for every employee. So that's all of the employee information for each employee in the company, which means a lot of paper forms and filing, a lot of manual data entry. You have to track all of this data for each individual staff member as they enter your company, go through your system, and reach certain milestones within your company. Then you also have to personalize contracts for every employee depending on the terms, which makes it really difficult to scale when your company is growing and you're hiring an increasing number of employees. You also have to coordinate multiple stakeholders in every process because HR usually doesn't work alone in the case of these processes. They have to work with each employee in the company. All right, so that's all I have to say about why you should automate your HR processes. So it's time for Giovanni to get to the process demos.
Okay, so hi everybody, and thanks for joining us today. The first process that we're going to review is related to a timesheet entry and approval. So this is a very basic process, as you can see on your screen. This is the map of the process that we're going to be using as an example today. You can see that we just have an employee who's going to enter all of his timesheet information. That's something that we're going to review in a moment. Then all of this information is going to go to a supervisor. This employee is supervisor, actually, who's going to be in charge of reviewing all of the information that we are receiving from the first task. And finally, depending on the answer that we're going to receive from this supervisor, if this information has been approved or rejected, then we're going to be able to send it to someone in the human resources department who's going to take care of entering all of this information in our system and then generating the pay stub. Okay, so what we can do here is to create a case for this process, so it's going to be a little more comprehensible for you how this process works. So let me log in as Max Power. Maybe we can use that account in order to create this example case. Let me just do this in an incognito window. So we're going to be able to work with both users. Okay, so I'm gonna log in as Max Power, and I'm gonna use Summer's workspace. Okay, so what I'm trying to do here is to submit all of my timesheet information, right? So you can see that I'm able to create a new case here. And the first thing that I would like you to notice is that all of the information in this form has been auto-populated, right? So we're getting all of this information from the user's database that we have in ProcessMaker. We're getting the first name, last name, the employee ID, the department, and also the supervisor's name. Here you can add whatever deductions that are required to generate the final pay stub for this user. In this time, we're just using 15% as an example for taxes. And here we're going to include some information maybe for the rest of this week. Maybe we can have, I don't know, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and also Friday, right? So you can see that this user has worked 8 hours per day. Here we're just using a simple grid from a Dynaform, but all of this information can be generated using an external system, like, for example, a biometric system. If that system counts with a REST endpoint that we can consult to get all of this information, and we could auto-populate all of these fields from that external system. So as I was telling you, we're just using a basic sample here, but this information can come from any data source that you may count with in your company. And you can also notice that the time worked is being automatically summed up at the bottom of the grid. We have it right here. Okay, so that's it. We're just sending all of this information to Max's supervisor, because if you can see the assignment rule that we're using here, this case is being automatically assigned to the reporter's supervisor, right? Because we're using a reports to assignment rule. And you can see that we don't have any assigned user here, but ProcessMaker is assigning this case automatically to the reporter's supervisor, which in this case is Charlotte Leo. So let's continue here. We can log in as Charlotte. There we go. And we just received that case from Max Power. And our task is to review the timesheet information. Okay, so as the supervisor, we can review all of the information that we received from the first task. And you can see that we could also define the wage per hour and finally generate the total payment amount, right? In this time, we're just going to approve this request. So let's select approve. And finally, we're sending all of this information to someone in the Human Resources Department, as you can see in our process map. In this case, that person is Andrew Crowley. So let me click on continue. And finally, as the last user that's going to participate in this case, we can log in as Andrew. Okay, let me go to my home interface, and we just received this case from Charlotte. The final task in this process is related to generating the payment details, right? This document that's going to contain all of the information about the timesheet that was submitted by Max, and finally all of the information that was approved by his supervisor. So let me open any of this, maybe the doc version. Let me download it, and I'm gonna open it. Okay, so this is how this document is going to look like. You can see that we're including all of the information from the case, including the user's name, the employee ID. Some other things that we should notice here are related, for example, to the current date, which is being added automatically to this document. And well, you have this document that could be printed out and archived in your company, right? Okay, so as easy as that, we just generated a new document that's related to a timesheet information that we received from an employee, right? So this process is not really complex, but you saw that it's really easy to get all of that information from the ProcessMaker database, I mean the user's information, and we could also connect to an external system that has all of the information about the worked hours for a specific user in order to populate the grid that I just showed during the first task of this process. The second process that we're supposed to review today is related to a contractor management process. So let me show you the process map. You can see that I have different task types included in this process. So maybe you can see it a little better like that. The first thing that we're going to do is to search for a contractor. We're gonna find someone to be hired. In this task, we're going to be searching a sample database, as we could be searching for a specific contractor in an external system if we have a configured connection with an external database, for example, or we could even use a ProcessMaker connector in order to execute a REST API endpoint in order to obtain this information from an external system or an external solution. Then we're going to be selecting the contract template that we're going to use. And I'm talking about the template because we're going to be using a connector in order to get a connection to DocuSign, which is electronic signature solution. So we're going to be selecting a template from this external solution, and we're also going to send this contract using DocuSign for these people to be able to add an electronic signature, which is extremely convenient when you are working with contractors who worked remotely, right? You can see that we are pausing this case until the contract is up, right? So we're gonna be pausing this case, and once the contract is up, we're gonna be able to review the performance, which is also a user task. And depending on this review, we're gonna be able to extend the contract or finally terminate this contract. So as we did with the previous process, let's run a new case in order to see how this process works. So for this, let me go to my home interface. Let me go back to full screen so you can see it a little better. And we're going to create a new case here. This time it's going to be a contractor management case. Okay, so you can see that, for example, we're getting all of these contractors list from a sample database, as I was telling you, as we could get information from any external system or solution. We can select a contract date, maybe just for this example purposes, we could select, I don't know, maybe next week, June the 17th. The contractor title, and finally the contractor performance, right? So let me send all of this information, and you can see that the next user is going to be Max Power, who's going to be able to select the contract template that we're going to use. So let me log in as Max. And we just received this case from the administrator. Let me open this case. And here we're gonna be selecting a contract template. Let me stop at this point in ProcessMaker because I would like you to see where we're obtaining this information from. So let me go to DocuSign for a moment. And we're just going to review all of the templates that we have here. So I'm logging into my DocuSign free sandbox. And what I want you to see here is the list of contracts or the list of contract templates that we have here. So we're basically connecting to this external solution in order to get this list, performance contract and also contract template. So you can see that that's the same group of options that we have for this drop-down menu, right? Contract template and performance contract. So let me select the second one. I'm gonna submit this information. And the next thing that I need to do is to select who is gonna be in charge of signing as the contractor in the document that we're going to generate, and also who is going to be signing as the assigned manager, right? This contractor's manager, actually. I'm including my email address in both fields just for this example. So we're going to be able to review my email inbox and just sign this document from DocuSign. So let me submit this case. And you can see that the following task is a service task, right? Okay, so what's happening here? If we log in again as the administrator, if we can take a look again to the process map, you can see that we're using a ProcessMaker connector in order to send this contract using DocuSign. So if we take a look at my email inbox, you'll be able to see that I just received a document like this one, which is telling me that I have to sign this contract. As I was telling you, I'm just acting as a contractor here. Of course, this is just a document template, but I want you to see that I'm able to include my electronic signature here. Okay, let me finish here. Okay, then the contractor's manager should receive an email like this one as well. There we go. So I can also include my signature as the contractor's manager. So let me go just to the bottom of this document. And this time I'm gonna be signing as Summer Becker. Okay, and once this document has been signed, we're going to receive also a notification that's going to tell me that this document is now complete, right? So we can take a look at that here. View completed document. There we go. Okay, if we go back to ProcessMaker, this case is going to get paused until the contract is up. So Just for time matters, we're going to just go to the home interface and unpause this case. Okay, but for that, we have to log in again as Max Power. Here you can see that we have a pause case. So we're going to open this folder. Let me just unpause this case manually. This case is going to go right to our inbox, and we can take a look at it right away, right? So we have this complete information about this contract. Maybe we can even attach another document here. And well, that's basically the end of this case. So as you saw here, it's really easy to generate contracts with ProcessMaker integrated with DocuSign, right? So we're using an external electronic signature solution like DocuSign, as you could use any other tool like, for example, Adobe Sign. ProcessMaker also comes with connectors for that kind of solutions. It's really easy to include electronic signatures here, which are more secure and will also let you get your documents signed remotely by any user, even when they don't count with a ProcessMaker account in your system. A solution like the one that we're using today will allow them to participate in the cases that you have here. Okay, so those are the processes that we have for today. Please let us know in case you have any further questions. Maybe you saw an interesting connection, or you're not sure about how we're getting an information in our processes that we could clarify right now.
All right, thank you so much, Giovanni, for that great demo. So right now we're going to open up the floor to questions. So please submit any questions you have using the questions functionality in your GoToWebinar panel.